Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So today is Saturday, 13th April 2024, and we're in Radhakund, and we're approaching Gopi Gita through Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we'll sing Radhakund Tata, and see how we go. Radhakunda Tata Kunjakutira Govardhana Parvata Yamunatira Radhakunda Tata Kunjakutira Govardhana Parvata Radhakunda Tata Kunjakutira Govardhana Parvata Yamunatira Radhakunda Tata Kunjakutira Govardhana Parvata Yamunatira Kusuma Sarovara Manasaganga Kusuma Sarovara Manasaganga Kalindanandini Vipulataranga Kalindanandini Vipulataranga Vamsivata Gokula Gira Samira Vamsivata Gira Samira Vrindavana Charu Latika Vanira Vrindavana Charu Latika Gagamriga Kula Malaya Batasa Kabrigamula Malaya Batasa Mayura Brahmara Murali Vilasa Mayura Brahmara Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala Venu Shringapada Chinna Megamala Vasanta Shashanka Shankataratala Vasanta Shashanka Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani Yugala Vilase Anukula Jani Gala Vilase Lila Vilase Udipakamani Lila Vilase Udipakamani bhaktamani. Esa bachodata kani nahi jao, sabakodata kani. Esa bachodata kani nahi jao. Jaya Yamuna Devi, Giri Govardhan Jaya Yamuna Devi, Govardhan Jaya Yamuna Devi. Vardhan. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hare. Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha, Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha, Gopinata Radhe. Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha, Vinod Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Chi Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Hey. Go Premanandi, Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Shri Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai, Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai, Radha Binod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimad, Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimad, Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gauri Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautramdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujit Janadvip Motamdvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Bandiravan, Baduravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasavar Matmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Jamuna Devi Bhakti Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Bhakti Devi Brinda Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Shrimati Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Ketra Mandal Ki Jai, Sarva Vigna Vinashtakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Charidam Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Achari Ki Jai, Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Dayata Surupe Prema Surupe Sahaja Virupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tudikatam Basidipa Sadahridare Kadare Spuratuva Sachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam apeti krityam dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava putre titam mayatayottaravaldinajustam sarvabhutam hridim munimanatoshmi bhaktiya vihina aparada lakshay shiptascha karmaditarangamadye kripa tvam sharanam prapana brinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravindanetram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanastikatena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Astau Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Astau Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, and our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, my Dandavat pranams. Vanshakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So today is a very auspicious day. Every day for the Vaishnava is an auspicious day, but today is the appearance day of Sripad Ramanuja Acharya. It's his appearance day today. So we are bound to glorify him to some degree. I'm just very briefly going to mention something. So he's the first Acharya, or the first Sampradaya, uh, who manifested the first Sampradaya, the Shri, the younger brother of Ram, Lakshmana, and so powerfully defeated Mayavadism, began the process of the defeat of Mayavadism. Ultimately, Madhvacharya, he took up that task much more vigorously. Ramanuja, his philosophy is called Vaishisht Advaitavad. which means there's a speciality in between the Jiva and Krishna. Previously, it was from Sankaracharya Advaitavad. This is the philosophy previously. Everything is one. And Ramanuja was the first one to say, no, it's not one, it's two. He didn't say it as prominently as Madhvacharya, but nevertheless, he began the whole process of worshipping the deity in Sri Rangam in particular. So he took initiation from Ramanuja after Ramanuja had left this world. There's a very beautiful. I'm not going to go into all the pastimes, but just touch on this. But basically, for our purification, to remember this remarkable personality and how actually in the Ramanuja Sampradaya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he takes many teachings from the Ramanuja Sampradaya because their etiquette and their nishta is very, very powerful. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati thought that should be incorporated into this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, where Mahaprabhu took up the teachings within within the Madhva Sampradaya, because the Madhva Sampradaya was the most prominent at the time. That's why Mahaprabhu joined in that. So Ramanuja spent his whole life supporting this principle of Vaishishta Advaitavad, that there is a speciality in the oneness. There is the Jiva and Krishna. There are two, not one. So this was the beginning of the understanding which Mahaprabhu was going to come and fully reconcile all the different sampradayas, the four sampradayas, Madhvacharya, then Ballabha Sampradaya, then the Nimbaditya Sampradaya. All these sampradayas were reconciled by Mahaprabhu. So the first was Ramanuja. So today we are remembering something of his glories, and his pastimes are fascinating, but they're very lengthy to actually open out. So I'm not going to go and explain all these today, but we can just hear his glories to some degree. Sripad Ramanuja Acharya Ki Jai, Gold Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So now we come back to our topic of approaching Gopi Gita. And as previous days, we've been scrolling through Srimad Bhagavatam. Gokul, you want to sit a bit closer? Where's your mother, Gokul? She didn't come? Gokul, your mother didn't come? Okay. So we've been beginning from Nityananda each day and expressing our appreciation for Guru, who is the embodiment of Nityananda's potency. Nityananda is Akhanda Guru Mula Tattva. So straight away we are connecting in that vein. And from Guru, we come to Nityananda. From Nityananda, he brings us Heno Nitai Binai Bai, Radha Krishna Paitenai. We come to the lotus feet of Sachinandan Gaurahari. Sachinandan Gaurahari is going to give us the direction of Brajaras, Braja Prem, which is what he came to give. He came to taste this Braja Prem himself, this Prem Ras. He came to taste that himself, the highest Prem Ras, this Unnata Ujjvala Ras. But he came to give service to this mood. This is what he came to give us, Swabhakti Shriyam. So through his emissaries, through his these sold out maidservants of Sri Radhika, they are the ones, because Radhika wants to support her beloved Krishna in every single way. Krishna wants to give this to the jiva. So all these our Guru Varga are manifesting from Sri Radhika. They're all Kaya Vyuha. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta, Raghunath Das, Gopal, Jiva Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Srinivas, Shyamananda, Narottam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All of these personalities, they all specifically have their manifestations from Sri Radhika. Have no doubt about it. Our line is resting on the mercy of Sri Radhika through our Guru Varga. So how to appreciate this more is through the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This has been gifted to the jivas in this age, this Shrimad Bhagavatam. And the acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami, they've all opened that out more and more extensively, because within the pages of the Bhagavatam, what is expressed most prominently and most astonishingly is Parakiya Bhav. This is what is expressed within the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So how will we understand that very delicate, subtle mood of Parakiya except through the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam? Even then, it's very difficult to understand. For like Jiva Goswami, he gave the Swakiya mood to many of his followers from South India. They couldn't for a moment begin to believe that Krishna would actually dance with. Even Parikshit Maharaj questions Krishna. After the Ras Leela in the 33rd chapter, he questions Krishna. How are we supposed to understand this? And Shukadev, he says that Krishna is like fire in its purity. With fire, you can cast a dead body into a fire, and the fire will still remain pure. So Krishna has that quality. Everything about Krishna is completely pure. There can be no impurity anywhere. So Shukadev begins his reconciliation like this to explain to, and he says, what a great man does, others shouldn't follow, thinking that they can be as great as him unless they are actually qualified. And he gives the example of Lord Shivji drinking the poison from the churning of the ocean of milk. How can any other person do like that? Only Shivji can, who's empowered to do like that. So we cannot imitate Krishna's pastimes, because this is what Parikshit Maharaj was trying to prevent and make it clear to people. So we're scrolling through the whole Bhagavatam, and we start off with the first verse, Janmadi yasya yata nivyat itaratas karatasheshu abhignat suram tene brahma hridaya adikavaya muyanti yat suraya teje beri mridam yata vinimoya yatra trishargo misham damna svena nirasta kuhukam satyam paramadimahi. So this Satyam Paramadimahi, we've discussed these 5 explanations. And the 5th explanation is what? Bhakti Devi herself, devotion. This is so astonishing that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur will have opened this door to bhakti from the very beginning, the very first verse. We knowing that bhakti is going to be the devotion, because we are conditioned jivas. We're reading this granta, this scripture, and what are we going to benefit from it is the connection in devotion to Krishna. And how is that connection going to manifest? Through the example of the gopis. It's the gopis that are the highest example of devotion known to man. There is no higher example than the gopis. They left everything for Krishna. We discussed this Pranaya Gita yesterday. We're going to go over that a little bit today. So I'm going to scroll through the Bhagavatam again, because I think it's very helpful just to get it in context, the consistency of it. So the first canto is 19 chapters, and it's principally the, as I said yesterday, we appreciate the times when this was actually compiled by Vyasadeva, was just immediately after the Mahabharata war. So all of the characters within the first canto are coming from there. If ever we want to, if we haven't already read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can start our appreciation of the Bhagavatam by reading the Mahabharata, because in the Mahabharata we get familiar with all these personalities, and they're all mentioned in the first canto. Parikshit, Narad, who else? Dhritarashtra. Who? Queen Kunti, the Pandavas, Bhishma Dev, Ashvatam is even mentioned. All of these personalities, Vidura, Shukini, yeah, we're connecting. Who? Gandhari. Yes, Dhritarashtra's wife. We're connecting with our family. This is like a family, and we're part of that because we're hearing this with faith. And then we come into the second canto, I've described many times, this 4th chapter in particular, where Shukadev is expressing his nishta towards Krishna in 14 beautiful prayers. And then we come to the Chatushloki, which describes everything in existence. Krishna is giving it in seed form to Lord Brahma in such a congenial and gentle way. It's described that at the end, he actually shakes Lord Brahma's hand, or just before he speaks this friendship, this feeling between Lord Brahma and Krishna. It's all with sweetness and devotion. So after that Chatushloki, then we come into the third canto. Now I've described this is really when the Bhagavatam begins. So we have Vidura and Maitreya, their conversations there. And there's Maitreya talking about time, for example, and the Vishaga, the material creation by Lord Brahma. That's described in the beginning of the third canto. And then we get to Varahadev, which is the first incarnation to be described in the whole of the Bhagavatam. And then we come to the Kapila Devahuti Sangvad at the end. That takes up the whole third canto. In the fourth canto, we have the Yagya of Daksha, yes, Prajapati. And what else? Then after that, Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. And then after that, huh? No, Prithu Maharaj. Puranjan comes right at the end. No, we need to know the sequence. But I'm explaining it all in about 5-6 minutes, the whole Bhagavatam. You should also become proficient like that. And then the fifth canto is Priyavrata initially, and then Rishabdev, and then Jad Bharat, that pastime, and then what? Jambudweep, yes, Jambudweep description of the, and then the hellish planets described. This is phenomenal canto. This fifth canto is really special. And then the sixth canto, the Ajamil to begin with, and then after Ajamil, Vishwarup, and and Indra chopping the heads off, etc. This pastime, and Chitraketu is described. Who else in the sixth canto? Anything? I didn't bring my paper today. Okay, so from the sixth canto, we jump to the seventh canto, Charita, and the instructions from Manu at the end, very powerful. 4 chapters there at the end of the seventh canto, very special. Varnashram Dharma, yes, based on the teachings of Manu. Because Shukadev, he keeps his consistency by describing the lineage of Swayambhuva Manu from the very beginning. We go through the lineage from Swayambhuva Manu. We have Devahuti, and then we have Uttanapat with Dhruva. We have Priyavrata at the beginning of the 5th canto, and then we have Akuti and Prashuti. We have these 2 personalities, and they're generating so many living entities in the world. And then we come to the 8th canto, the churning, the Gajendra, and but churning of the milk first, and then Bali Maharaj after that. So the 9th canto is many different pastimes, Ramchandra and Ambarish and Durvasa Rishi, and many Puranic pastimes are described. And then the dynasty at the end of the 9th canto, where the Yadu dynasty is mentioned. And then Krishna is mentioned there. And Parikshit, his ears perk up. He wants to know about Krishna. He's just now heard. All this time, we haven't heard. Although we did in the very beginning. In the first canto, there was Krishna, the 2 pastimes, leaving Hastinapur and arriving in Dwarka. So he's mentioned in the beginning, but not extensively, because Varahadev is not spoken of as an incarnation from Krishna as the original source of all incarnations. Although Ete Kamsa Kalapumsam, Krishna Stubhag, this is described in the 3rd chapter of the first canto, 3rd chapter. Yes. So we should hopefully becoming a little familiar with the Bhagavatam. And I hope by my reiterating each day these chapters and the contents that something is going to be inspired within us. That's the purpose of saying it. So now we've come into the 10th canto. We've scrolled through Krishna's Mathura pastime, or Vishnu's Mathura pastime, because it's Vishnu that's manifesting in the dungeon, actually, 4 arms. Isn't this Vishnu? This is not Prajendranandan Shamsundar. And then we're coming into Putana and Shakatasura, Trinavrata, Bakasura. And then after Bakasura is Agasura. They're all one family. Bakasura, Putana, and Agasura. They're all a family of demons. Wouldn't like to meet them particularly. But anyway, and then after Agasura, because of Agasura, every time we remember, where did he go foot directly. And Lord Brahma is seeing this, and then the Brahma Vimohan Lila transpires straight after that. And then after who? No, Dhenukasura. Dhenukasura is left, is the next one. Dhenukasura comes after Brahma Vimohan Lila. And then Kaliya, Hada, and then there's the history of Kaliya also, which I didn't actually describe the other day because I thought I'd said enough about Kaliya. But there is a whole history that is described in one single chapter. And then after the Kaliya Hrida pastime, then Pralambasura. Then after Pralambasura, they're swallowing the forest fire. And then we come to that amazing, the rainy season. And it's such a beautiful chapter describing the effect of Vrindavan Dham. How is Vrindavan? What beauty does it hold? Because it's the backdrop of all of Krishna's pastimes. And when we read about the different activities of the Gopas and the Gopis, they make references to various parts of Vrindavan regularly, like in Bandiravan and Bandravat, the huge tree in Bandiravan. And they would talk about the Ashok grove or the mango grove or the different groves of trees, like they were like places where they would be familiar with the landscape completely, because Krishna moved all through Braj with his pastimes. It's very, very beautiful to appreciate this chapter, the 20th chapter. Then we come into the Rasik section, and we discussed something of Venugita yesterday. We started to open up a little bit. I read through the chapter titles just to give us an idea. This is now in the realm of Rasa Tattva. We have to appreciate the transition now after the rainy season. It's remarkable how this Bhagavatam is constructed, how we come into this Rasik description now of the gopis' prem in their hearts. This is the beginning of it. Now, I want to refer to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He describes the question in the 26th chapter by Vijay Kumar. He wants to know about who has the qualification for rasa. He wants to know what is rasa. So we're going to be talking about rasic topics. So we should know the nature and where it originates. What is this rasic? What does it mean? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's describing here, rasa is an unequaled tattva, which can be compared to the rising of the moon. The moon benedicts everyone with coolness and beauty. That's the effect of the rising moon, whose radiance is the expanding lila of Prem Parabrahm Sri Krishna. So this expanding lila, we've discussed many times how the lila is the rider of the horse of tattva. Tattva is going to carry us, but the principal focus should be on the lila. The lila will carry us into the heart region. The tattva will remain in the intelligence and the rational place of contemplation. But the lila is going to melt the heart. It's going to, like we've been describing all these different leelas of Krishna. As soon as we start to talk about these leelas of Krishna, Krishna becomes alive, doesn't he? That personality. We're no longer in any sort of abstract plane of Aishwarya, but his personality becomes very much dynamic in the world. We're beginning to appreciate his nature. Because if I'm practicing bhakti, that means I'm practicing my devotion to that person. So what is the nature of that? How can I be inspired with full affection unless I get familiar with this person, unless I know what sort of hero he is, what sort of nayak he is? 4 types of nayak: Dhirodata, Dhirashantaha, Dhirodata, Dhirlalit. These 4 types of hero. For example, this is just an aspect of Rasa Tattva, which the bhaktas hopefully will become inspired to read and try to understand this Rasik path. What is the qualification ultimately for this path? What is the ultimate qualification? Greed. Greed. If you don't have enthusiasm for it, you think, what do I want to know about Staibhav for? What do I want to know about Anubhav? What do I want to know about Sattvika Bhav? Oh, it's too much problem for me. Let me just go back to Narad Rishi and something else, let me just stay in the 9 cantos. Then okay, no problem, no problem. Then you don't have the qualification, and that's okay. Some don't have the qualification, that's okay, no problem. But if we want to have the qualification, then we have to do the homework, so to speak. And as soon as you begin to move in this direction, what is Staibhav? What is the meaning of Staibhav? What is Anubhav? What is Sattvika Bhav? What is Sanchari Bhav? What is the Samagri mix of them all? How does all this manifest? What is the nature of that? If we have interest in that, it's very wonderful for the mature devotee or the older devotee. After so many years just hearing, I'm not the body, etc., detachment, renunciation, and so on. But this getting into rasa tattva is a whole new world for the intelligence as well to actually appreciate. So this principal ingredient is greed. And what are the ingredients of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is the alternative to Raganuga Bhakti? There's 2 types of bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So we have to know this distinction very clearly. Vaidhi Bhakti is motivated by what? Fear. Fear and Shastra. Am I doing the right thing? I won't place my foot in the next step until I'm sure that Shastra says this is the right place to face it. Do's and don'ts, yes, the rules and regulations. But that doesn't mean that when we come into the kingdom of Raganuga, that we neglect the rules and regulations at all. Sometimes devotees take this ridiculous idea that now I'm a Raganuga Bhakti, I don't have to follow Ekadashi, or I don't have to attend Mangalati, or I don't have to, like something like that. We actually should do it with even more bhav. Bhav Bhakti is the focus. I've said this so many times. We have our sadhan bhakti, and if the sadhan bhakti is not being focused on bhav bhakti, your sadhan bhakti is 0. Because what are you doing? Why are you doing the sadhan? If you don't know why you're doing the sadhan, what's the purpose of doing it? Just Hare Krishna, Krishna, give me bliss, give me liberation. What is the objective? The objective has to be Bhav Bhakti. Therefore, we have to know the meaning of Bhav Bhakti. We have to know about Bhav Bhakti. That's described in Jivadhamma in the 22nd chapter also. These 6 symptoms of Bhav Bhakti. Kshantiya, Avyakta Kalatvam. What's that? Viraktya Manasunyata. Ashabandha, Samutkanta, Namagana, Sadaruchi. Ashaktis Tutine Tadjigune. What's that? Priti Stad Vishtestate. Yes, these 9 symptoms, these are the symptoms. But the principal symptom for us to contemplate is that it's one who looks completely, the English word is disdain, looks down upon liberation. Mukta, what is it? Mukti Lakhuta Krit. Mukti Lakhuta Krit. This is Lakhuta Krit. Moksha Lakhuta Krit, yes. It means I look down. Sadhan Bhakti is, what's that? Kleshagni Shubhada. These 2 qualities. And then Bhav Bhakti is Moksha Lukhata Krit Sudulava. These are the 2 qualities of Bhav Bhakti. And unless we're focusing on Bhav Bhakti, our sadhan is nothing. It's just like a robot. And so many devotees are like that because they're fearful, because they're in the path of Vaidhi. This fear that the sky will drop on my head if I don't go to the temple, right? Or fear I won't get something for me. It's all motivated. Whereas this path of Ragmarg is without motivation. Its motivation is only to please Krishna. That is the path of Bhav Bhakti. And from Bhav Bhakti, in a future birth, because our bodies contain prem. It's not possible physically. Our bodies would explode at the potency of prem coming within this mortal frame, cannot contain it. But that prem is the supreme goal. And that is described as Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. And what does Sandra Ananda mean? I've said many times because it's so beautiful. Sandra Ananda means that nothing else can enter except prem. Ananda, not prem, bliss rather. Ananda, Sandra Ananda. Nothing else can enter the consciousness except bliss. That's quite amazing, isn't it? To consider. This is the consciousness of prem. Now, how to become qualified for these higher states of consciousness? Listen, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says further. He says, Bhakti Ras is the function of Krishna Bhakti when it becomes absolutely pure. When our Krishna Bhakti becomes absolutely pure, then Ras will manifest. And what is the nature of rasa? It's described by Rupa Goswami, that which is beyond imagination. What does that mean? That means achintya bhav, inconceivable. I can't grasp it with my limited, tiny intelligence or logical rationale. I can only appreciate its inconceivable nature. Unless we come to this achintya bhav, we cannot progress. If we're thinking, oh yes, I know this, I know that, I know this, I know, we cannot move. We have to be like a little child, like Gaurangi here. Everything is astonishing, isn't it? Today we were on Parikrama, and she's astonished with everything, by everything. Everywhere she's running, and you can see she's astonished. That's called achintya bhav. It kind of gets knocked out of us as we come into adolescence from social pressures, etc. We lose that freedom of expression, that freedom of with Vrindavan, for example, with Giriraj Govardhan of Ragmarg. Without that achintya shakti, then our hearts become quite empty. And we should be experiencing something astonishing at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. If it's all stuck on a mental platform somewhere. We want that boom. Wow. Did you see that? Wow. But it's not for sharing because they try to own with the material objects, which we try to somehow adjust it to coming into that. It's not there. It's not anywhere there. It's an internal journey. You can't analyze it. No, there's no analysis. If you start to analyze any, say, mystical experience that Krishna is bestowing upon you, as soon as you start to try and put some logic in there, it evaporates. Speculation. Yes, speculation. We cannot speculate. We don't need to speculate. Why waste our time speculating? It's all here in Jaiva Dhamma and Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly when we come into these rasa tattva or rasa lila pastimes of Venu Gita, where we came yesterday, and Pranaya Gita. And I wanted today to mention a few more verses in Pranaya Gita. I wasn't satisfied that I'd shared sufficiently about Pranaya Gita. It's such an incredible Gita. It's the second Gita. And the hearts of the gopis really being whirled around by Krishna, because Krishna wants to break that avihita I described yesterday, that shyness. Huh? Inhibitedness. Yes. They've, but at the same time, this demonstration of their complete detachment from the material world is there. They've left everything conceivable. There's nothing left, and yet Krishna has rejected them. And we described yesterday their first impression was, we're not good enough. That's how they felt. Now, when you feel not good enough, what does the natural reaction? Oh, I want to become qualified enough, isn't it? So Krishna is bringing them up to even higher heights. Why is Krishna doing this? He's doing this for the gopis' sake. He's also exhibiting this for our sake. There's a very beautiful verse. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusyam deha ashrita bhajate tad rishi kritva ya shrutva means remembering, ya shrutva tatparo bhavet. What does tat paro mean? Tat means the topmost, and bhavet means imperative. That Krishna is manifesting these human-like pastimes to demonstrate to the conditioned souls the beauty of his pastimes like the Rasa Leela. That's why he's performing this part. Why else would Krishna come to this material world to perform the Rasa Leela except to attract us to the beauty and splendor of Krishna himself directly? Anugrahaya Bhaktanam. Manusyam means human-like. Manusyam, what is it? Uh, yes. And then bhajate tadrishi kritva, these playful pastimes, like the Rasa Leela. Where we're going. So everything is laid out there with solid support. We're not speculating anywhere. We're going on the stepping stones of Srimad Bhagavatam, very cautiously, carefully. We're not rushing in, just looking for some, sensational kind of explanation or something, which is going to be but more than this, if we stick on the pathway carefully, then all these truths will come in a correct manner. Not yes, yes, the guna and the rupa and the lila. It has to be flowing in this way. There's a sequence, and who has that sequence in his hand? Sadguru, that Rasik Vaishnava. And without that type of association, these will just be like words. What does Gurudev give us? He gave us a direct impression of these truths. They are real. It's not just, we're not just talking about these ideas. They're not just words on a page, but we are getting to understand the reality of them, the bhav of them, the mood of them. I know I meet devotees sometimes, they've had no association with, they've had no higher Rasik association, but they're talking very Rasik topics. But I can hear it's empty because they haven't had a Rasik Vaishnava guide them. I was thinking this Bhakti Jivan Janardhan Goswami. He was an extremely Rasik soul within the Gaudiya Math. There are not so many of these Rasik souls, actually, because it doesn't blend in with the mood of Nityananda and preaching. You know, this requires more contemplation. You understand? It's not just rushing out on the streets, and it goes to another level. So we have to reconcile these points carefully. But without the infusion of a Rasik Vaishnava, you will never actually have an experience of this. Doesn't matter whether you chant 5 or 6 lakhs a day, you still can never connect without the Rasik Vaishnava. We know, we've experienced what it is to have her. And once you have that Rasik Vaishnava, you see Ras everywhere. Isn't it? You see Ras in the Bhagavad Gita, you see Ras in the first canto, you see Ras everywhere because it is everywhere. But we can't see it until we get that mercy from that Rasik Vaishnava. That Rasik Vaishnava may even be a Madhyam who's connected to an Uttam Rasik Vaishnava. He may even be there. It may not be that supreme Uttam Bhagavat, because there's 8 billion people in the world. It has to be spread around. So Krishna makes that arrangement. If we have the qualification, and that qualification is greed, if you genuinely have greed, you will drink this Jaiva Dharma. The last 14 chapters of Jaiva Dharma explain everything. Actually, they are completely in sync with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Bindu by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Every chapter corresponds to a chapter within the Bindu or the Sindhu. Every chapter. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's not speculating it. He's following implicitly the teachings of Rupa Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which are exactly the same. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is like a reincarnation we can say practically, of the teachings of Rupa Goswami. He's giving us the same teachings as Rupa Goswami in a more digestible package. Rupa Goswami's given everything in the Sindhu. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has condensed it to the Bindu. And he's also given us the Ujjvala Nilamani in the Kiran. So everything is there by these two acharyas. We have so much wealth of direction and focus. We simply have to put it as a priority in our lives if we have the greed to achieve it. If we don't really have the greed to achieve it, then no problem. Next life, or the life after, or the life after. That's how it'll be. So coming back to our Pranaya Gita, this is, I just read a little bit more of this, and then we'll go to, I'm just going to name the next chapters up to chapter 29, which is when the Rasa Leela begins. So I think I read this yesterday, their heads hanging down and their heavy, sorrowful breathing drying up. I read this yesterday? No? Okay, I'll read it now. This is after Krishna has, in their minds, rejected them. But we were saying yesterday, this parokshvad, these like two meanings, double meaning. Krishna's very crooked. So he's saying one meaning, but it's with the intention of actually bringing something else out. But the gopis, they've heard the external meaning and they have to act on that. They can't, because it's on the back of their minds. Yes, we know Krishna doesn't really mean this. So therefore they've got confidence to defeat him, which they do in 10 verses. It's extraordinary verses. Pranaya Gita. I would encourage you all to read this incredible chapter. So this is at the beginning. This is chapter 29, at the beginning of the Ras Leela, when they've all been called. So their heads hanging down and their heavy, sorrowful breathing, drying up their reddened lips. The gopis scratched the ground with their toes. Tears flowed from their eyes, carrying their cudgel and washing away the vermilion smeared on their breasts. Thus they stood silently, bearing the burden of their unhappiness. So we can all relate to unhappiness. There's no scarcity of unhappiness in this material world, right? Correct? So much unhappiness is there, and how to, so we can appreciate on that level at least something. But now we're going to go further. And here, I'll read the next verse. Although Krishna was their beloved, and although they had abandoned all other objects of desire for his sake, he had been speaking in an unfavorable way. Nevertheless, they remained unflinching in their attachment to him. This is important. They are ultimately Krishna's Shaktis. All of them are Krishna's potencies. They've all manifest. None of them are human conditioned souls. None of them. They're all manifesting from Goloka Vrindavan. All of them. But Krishna is putting them through this Leela to exemplify their glories. Krishna thinks, how glorious are the gopis? The most glorious devotees are the gopis. And he wants us, conditioned souls, to understand this factor. That's what that verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam, describes. He wants us to understand the highest exhibition of love. This is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. These are the gopis. So we must hear these topics. Now, you see, we've become something qualified to hear these topics because we're sitting on the cushion of the rest of the 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. We haven't just jumped in the gate. We've carefully walked through all the other chapters. So now we have some qualification. We've even touched something from Jaivadharma. And just to conclude that aspect of rasa, what is rasa? It's described as a very beautiful verse. It says, that which is beyond imagination, that means achintya bhav, heavy with wonder. Isn't that a beautiful expression? Heavy with wonder and shining in the heart with pure Shuddha Sattva, with pure goodness, shining, radiating. It's heavy with wonder and it's achintya. So these 3 ingredients constitute the principle of rasa. And Rupa Goswami, he's given one verse here. You can see for yourselves you can publish this verse, Rasa Manjari. It's on page, note it down, it's 576. No, I've jumped a page, sorry. Sorry, the wind blew the page back.
They would always talk about what turns regular bhakti into bhakti ras.
Coming from regular bhakti into bhakti ras.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the more or less the method that we've been walking through in the Bhagavad, because in the first cantos we fall in love with Krishna's greatness, his great glory, his ability to defeat so many powerful kings and demons and so on, and purify, like Prahlad, for example, appearing as Lord Nrsingadev to Prahlad, and Gajendra, yes, giving us great strength of Shraddha to worship and honor their material dharma, but they're saying that they should honor him first. So actually they catch him. And then it's saying, expert, no, leave that one. Until today, our minds were absorbed in household affairs, but you easily stole both our minds and our hands away from our housework. Now our feet won't move one step from your lotus feet. How can we go back to Braja? What would we do there? They're really trying to break Krishna's heart, which they do. So just this final verse I'm going to read from here, where they actually break his heart. This breaking of the heart is important. What happens when you break a heart? A sprout comes out. You have to break the heart, or you have to break any seed. When the sprout comes out of the seed, it has to be broken, right? So when the heart gets broken by hearing the sweetness and heartbreaking moods of the gopis, then the heart can crack a little. And from that crack, the sprout of Bhav Bhakti can manifest properly. You understand? There's a beautiful map in the Madhurya Kadambini of the sprout of Prem, where the heart has broken, and that sprout is going to grow to complete Prem. So now this final verse of the Pranaya Gita, where Krishna responds, Shukadev said, smiling upon hearing their despondent words from the gopis, Lord Krishna, the supreme master of all masters of mystic yoga, mercifully enjoyed with them, although he is self-satisfied. That's another remarkable thing. Why should Krishna, who is completely self-satisfied, take the time to dance and find some, because obviously Krishna has to be relishing and enjoying the company, otherwise it's not real. And the gopis are relishing. There has to be relish from both sides. But what is the relish? To make the other side more pleased, to bring the other side up. Both are in a mood of service. We've said so many times that the symptom of love is service. So this supreme service by Krishna to the gopis and the gopis to Krishna culminates in the highest ecstasy known to man. This Mahabhav, and even higher than Mahabhav, which we will understand when we come more in fluent with the Rasa Tattva aspect. And we should appreciate the nature of this rati. It's described as samartha rati. It has the nature to control Krishna. The rati of the Dwarkavasis, that's samanjasaha rati. That doesn't control Krishna. That goes to the stage of anurag. It doesn't go beyond anurag. And it can't control. Krishna doesn't take his flute to Dwarka. He doesn't take his peacock feather to Dwarka. It's kept in a golden box in Vrindavan for as soon as he comes back. He doesn't need it. He just goes when Satyabhama becomes in man, when Rukmini got the Parijat flower, Satyabhama stamped her foot, ran back to her palace, went into the angry room, took off all her queenly cloth, put on old rags and banging on the floor in anger. Krishna just came to the entrance of the palace. Oh, the servant, tell Satyabhama I'm here to come immediately. Satyabhama, meekly she comes. They can't carry that man that Radhika carries. That man is fascinating. That's another aspect of rasa. All these are aspects of rasa. Oh, we've gone over the time already. I didn't even reach where I was going to reach. We have to jump ahead quickly. So now Krishna is relishing the Ras Leela with the gopis. And this pastime is so splendid. 300 billion gopis is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. In other words, it's achintya for us from the very beginning. There's 8 billion people in the world. We can't even conceive of 100 billion people. Think of 300 billion, all in an area of Vrindavan Dham. It's everything is inconceivable. So never try to put it in a box somewhere. It's all achintya bhav. So 300 billion gopis are dancing, and they've all brought flags and they're dancing sticks, and the dance is just blowing the minds of all the devas, all the demigods. They gather and they don't see the intimate interactions between Krishna and the gopis, but they do see the idea of the Ras Leela. And it's described how all the musical instruments manifest by themselves. The personification of musical instruments manifest by themselves. So there's an incredible sound vibration. But what's the highest sound vibration? There's two. The first is the ching, ching, ching of the bracelets and the ankle bells of the gopis. That is like thunderous, this incredible, beautiful sound vibration, as well as Krishna's flute is mixed in there too. And then their songs, they're singing above that sound. So in any great dance, there has to be an audience. So who is the audience? That's Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi is the audience. And she's there with all her duties, all her messengers. And they're all, bravo, bravo. They're all clapping. Yes, yes, beautiful. Because they're all performing the most phenomenal type of dances known to, they've never seen these types of dances before. Yes, just incredible dances. It goes to the next. This is only the first Rasa Leela. This is only the prelude. We're going to touch on the real Rasa Leela, which comes after the Gopi Gita. But the heart has to be broken fully by the Gopi Gita. So tomorrow we'll go into the Gopi Gita. We have to go into the Gopi Gita. But we're understanding now that this is the verse from the Bhagavatam. It says, Lord Krishna, Lord Keshava, seeing the gopis too proud of their good fortune, wanted to relieve them of this pride. This is great mercy of Krishna. If we're too proud and some circumstance happen to smash that pride, we should be very thankful. But we won't. We'll be angry. Oh, you said that to me. You called me. We want our pride. We like our pride. It's our attachment to this world. If we lose our pride, we won't be in this world anymore. I don't want to leave this illusory world. I want my pride to stay here. Look at the operation he had to do with Indra. In front of all the demigods and devas, he was smashed again and again, actually, not just once, because he's the king of the devas. So how much pride did he have? So if circumstances happen that our pride can be, eroded to some degree, we should thank the Lord for that arrangement. Try and remember that. Will we? When the time comes? No, probably not. Probably we'll just go away and cry. Why did he say that about me? Oh, poor me. We won't understand. It's Krishna's mercy. It's a deep thing. But anyway, so in order to relieve the pride and show them further mercy, thus he immediately disappeared. But unless we hear from the Rasik Vaishnavas happened, because it wasn't Krishna who did it first, it was actually the master of the Raslila, who is Radhika, because she could see this, she wasn't being made sufficiently prominent in the Ras. From Radhika, all of the gopis have manifested. She is the queen of all the gopis. And yet the gopis weren't sufficiently honoring her. That meant the rasa would have been down a little bit, because she knows that Krishna cannot get any taste except when Radhika is pleased and satisfied. Krishna is getting all his pleasure from Radhika. Radhika is experiencing this Adi Rudha Mahabhav and the Rudha Mahabhav, these highest stages of bliss that Krishna doesn't experience. That's why he comes as Mahaprabhu. Krishna experiences up to Mahabhav, but Radhika experiences these higher stages. So she has the highest taste of, and that's what Krishna is aware of and tasting to some degree. He's seeing it. So when she becomes a little bit displeased, she leaves first in Man. And Krishna is described like an elephant walking against the current. What is the current? Billions of affectionate glances are being showered on Krishna, yet he's walking against this current of attraction to him by the gopis. He has the power to walk against all of that and follow Sri Radhika. So we'll stop there. But that's where he goes. He goes to Shringaravat, we know, and he decorates her hair beautifully, pacifies her man. Then they start walking in the forest together. So we'll describe that tomorrow. That is just the tip of the prelude of the Gopi Gita. So we've come to that point of. I'm going to put on our WhatsApp thread a very simple access into the audio of Gopi Gita, where my Gurudev is singing all the verses and I'm reading the commentaries. So you can see clearly that Gopi Gita. And you will have built the adhika to actually enter into that area, because we've heard all the different um, cantos of the Bhagavatam and we walked through carefully. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopi Gita ki jai, Rasalila ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. What should we sing? Gokul's here now. He's come all this way and he was going to play the mridanga to begin with. Give the mridanga to Gora. We'll have to sing a kirtan. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai 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 Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Gaura Hari bol. Jai Gaura Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Gaura Hari bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari. Oh Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Chi Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Rishabhanandini Bhajeshwari Radharani ki jai. Shri Radha Govinda Ju ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Nityananda Rai ki jai. Rasa Leela ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vaishnavas ki jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarupyascha. Kripa Sindhu Bevacha. Patitanam Papnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.